I can't see you. You're all foggy. What's going on with my camera?
It's time for a new camera, bud.
You are way out of focus. This Texas pond is already looking epic, but the 150 feet of stream we're gonna build today is gonna put it over the top. Hey everybody, it's Jack from Atlantis Water Gardens. I am back in Frisco, Texas. We built this incredible 25 by 80 foot pond with that giant waterfall about 6 months ago. We're back here to do phase 2. If you didn't see the videos of us actually building this pond, it's worth your time. Check it out right here. Start with number 1. There's 3 episodes of that. I'll give you a quick tour of what we're starting with today. Now we've got this beautiful pond. Right now the pond is very dark, but in reality, it is actually clear right to the bottom. I can see every bit of gravel down there. The problem we're having is these live oaks drop acorns, but not like the acorns we have back in New Jersey where they would float and go through the skimmer. These actually drop and sink right to the bottom. What happens then is they break down and they release tannins, like putting a tea bag in water, turns it brown. It's not unhealthy for the pond, it just gives it that dark color. In reality, if anything, it probably helps things because it keeps the algae from having a chance to get a foothold, and this pond doesn't have a stitch of algae in it after 6 months of running. This barn is undergoing a major renovation. That's going to be Matt, the homeowner's new office up there. It'll be a big set of sliding doors looking out over this pond. Man, we all started putting this nice, big, thick flagstone patio. There is a retaining wall underneath this whole edge of the patio. That's going to be a super clean edge. That flagstone will carry all the way into where it meets the set of doors for this lower section of the barn. And underneath in the wall, we actually cut in lights. So at nighttime, all the light projects out towards the pond along with all the other lighting that we have in here. We got jets rocking everywhere, and that's the reason the surface of this pond is completely clear. We've got circulation going from the far end all the way through here over to this really, really cool intake-based skimmer. Water's being drawn inside here, then it makes a hard left-hander, and what it's doing right now with those leaves just swirling around is exactly what we wanted. Matt just goes in there and he just scoops those out with his skimmer net, and it's good to go. There is 5 SLD 5 to 9,000 pumps inside those 4 pump vaults. We've got 2 that are going to the top here. 1 actually feeds the constructed wetland filter, the other one just dumps water on top for volume, and then we've got 1 that feeds just the jets. The last 2 are at the far end, and that's what's going to feed the rest of our stream system. When we were out here for phase 1, I had to bring in some serious heavy hitters to help make this come to fruition, and that came in the form of one Mr. Brian Helfrich. You'd be the heavy hitter, bud.
I'm the heavy hitter, I guess.
So you're back with me again, right? We're going to start this phase 2. How excited are you for this project?
I'm super excited. Like, I've already painted out the stream without you knowing about it. So I want to get your okay on it. Not that I really care, but like I'm super excited to show you kind of like the layout. And
I'm pretty sure you know I'm going to be fine with it.
Yeah.
I mean, we have pretty similar styles. I'm not worried about what your vision is because it's going to really pretty much align with what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yesterday we got to spend some time picking out some awesome rocks.
Yeah.
I forgot that we left a couple giant boulders here. I'm just really excited about doing the stream. Ponds are fun, but we both love building waterfalls and streams.
That moving water is what brings the whole thing to
Yeah.
life, right? And getting the opportunity to carve through this landscape and make it look like the water actually did that is what we're going to be really focusing on.
It's going to be awesome.
So we want to get started on carving out for the stream, but first we've got to determine what our elevations are.
And to do that, we're going to use this laser level. It's so important because water wants to go downhill. And if we have any areas that are going like this, it could either create a dam and all of our edges leak, or bigger problems than even that. So we're gonna come in here, we're gonna shoot whatever the elevation is here and see what the elevation is over there. That'll give us an idea of the drop between there and here. The other area I'm looking at is this section over in here. So I can almost tell that this is considerably lower than that area there, which works out because we need to take a lot of this soil. And like Jack was saying earlier, we want to take all that soil out of there. As that water eroded away that soil, it pushed it into this area. So we're gonna berm a lot of this up anyways, and then we can fan that out. But the laser transit will allow us to know exactly how much soil I have to add here to make sure that that water goes that way. The other thing I want to pay attention to, especially in this setting, is the root flares on some of these trees. So I'm looking at the root flare on this. I can't have soil sitting up this high on the tree. So I might actually shoot the root flare of this and see how high I can actually come up, or do I need to put a boulder right in here to retain some of that soil as I come up higher and higher. The laser transit's probably one of the most important tools we have on the job site.
We got the rough excavation for our stream pretty much settled here, and we carved it all the way up to where it meets the entrance of the house. Some of the things we talked about here was making sure we make it look natural, where you would imagine the waterfall comes in and excavates the soil, pushes it up into the bank where it's going to make its turn and burns things up. So we have this scoured out here to give it that effect. We did a big excavation there where the waterfall is going to be, and then we kind of mimicked that over here on this outside turn here as well. We took this whole area down about 8 inches lower than the rest of the stream. This is where our stepping stones will be going across. We're probably gonna cut the dirt here and do a couple steps, because this is gonna be entering into our fire pit area. And we'll probably do the same thing on the other side as well, because we've got a pretty good grade change there. When these stepping stones go in, we wanna have them so they're like just above the water surface, giving a really nice look, but not taking away from this waterfall that's gonna be here. We got some real nice shape going here, which for me, with a stream, that's what makes it look natural, is when you can really twist and turn it through the landscape, and we've got a lot of that going on. This is where it's gonna meet up against the fire pit wall. This will be capped with a field stone, so right over the edge here, there'll be water lapping up against probably some rock work that ties the liner into this wall. Where the machine's sitting, this is where we're gonna have 3 large urns with some massive boulders framing around that. That's gonna look fantastic. They'll be able to walk around the back of that fountainscape, enter the fire pit area over here, and then they can exit, continuing the walk across those stepping stones and then down towards the pond. Once you have the stream excavated, we want to go ahead and put down a protective layer that's going to make sure our liner doesn't get any problems with it. We're using a heavy rock pad. This stuff is really thick. In some areas, we might even double up on it, because we're going to be setting rocks in here that could be as much as 2 tons. So when you put all that weight on, you want to make sure that whatever's underneath doesn't have a chance of getting pushed up through the liner. We had a liner that's going into the pond feeding the waterfall on this side, and there's probably a good like 30 feet that we left extra all rolled up, knowing we'd be coming back. So we went ahead and stretched it all out, and it almost reaches where our waterfall is going to be coming in. Now, if it did reach that, we could stick it up on top of that next shelf and do an overlap, and we'd be fine. Since it doesn't reach, it only gets to about here, we're going to have to do a seam between this liner, and the liner is going to go the rest of the way up this stream. Right now you can see Matt's carrying in that long board. We're going to use that as a flat surface. We want to bridge this whole gap, support the board in the middle. We're going to lay this liner up on top of that board, prep it with a seam tape primer, and then the new liner is going to lap up on top of that. We'll actually put a double-sided tape in, tape the 2 liners together in the solid.
That one's going to be on the video. I know you put that one on the video. Heaven forbid you put that one on YouTube on my ass.
So once we seam those 2 together with the double-sided seam tape, we'll come over the top with a 6-inch wide cover tape. That's going to completely seal this up and make it so that it's one complete liner.
All right, seam is done. We'll get this board ripped out of here, get some fabric in top over this to protect the liner, start setting some boulders, and I think the one we should set first is this one right here. We keep talking about it so much and how it's gonna redirect the water in here, but if we can get this one set, it'll really start helping us shape out the way we're gonna set the rest of these rocks. Board, fabric, straps, rock.
We are ready to start with our first rock. Let's walk through the rock pile and decide how we're gonna actually pick the first rock that starts the stream. We got our good friend Alan Decker out here from Decker's Pondscapes in New York. Alan, you just showed up last night. I mean, this is your first time seeing this pond. What are your thoughts?
It's incredible. It really is. The pictures just don't do it justice. When you see it up front, it's so much bigger than it actually looks when I saw your videos, but it's really cool.
All right, so we're gonna go through and pick out the very first rock, Brian. I wanna have some explanation on what the thought process is on how we pick that first rock. So if you're trying to build your own stream at home, where do you start, right?
I already know which one it is.
Okay.
I think it's that one. Right there. So you can see how this one naturally starts a little higher on this side and then slopes down this way. That's what we want. So as that water comes, it'll hit right in here, causing that water to push off and go into that back bank over there. This is the first one I saw. I haven't really looked at all of them, but I think because it's our first rock, we should really make sure it's the perfect stone.
We've got a ton over on this side of the driveway that might work as well. We'll take a quick look around, but at some point you just gotta say, okay, that's the one we're using. And then what happens from there, the stones kind of speak to you. When you put one next to it, it's gonna tell you whether or not it looks good. And that's kind of where the organic, artistic process comes in with building streams and waterfalls. So really it's a lot of like trying things and then taking them back out, maybe trying something else. But the more you do it, obviously, the easier it gets. So that first boulder that we chose is the one we used, and this is where its home is. We're gonna use that to set that corner off. And that's what's gonna push our water out this way, giving the illusion that it did erode and scour this out, make that deeper section, and then make the turn. We took another flat, like angled rock, married it up next to this one. I kind of like the gap actually in here. We could do some cobbling there, more realistic, almost like it broke off inside the stream over time. Essentially what we want to do today is get this rocked in from where the original waterfall is up in through this stream section, hopefully making our way up to where this waterfall drop is. Like, when doesn't this happen to us?
Aren't you worried about what's going to happen in Spain?
Yes, I am. And this is where you kind of start to get worried on a big project, especially a travel project when it's raining like this, because it kind of sets you back a few days. This ground won't dry out for a good 2 or 3 days after this stops today, but we're kind of used to it at this point. And having Alan and Brian out here this week is going to be extremely helpful because these guys know exactly what they're doing. So even with the rain, we're going to hit it hard tomorrow and we'll get caught up. We'll see you then.